This is Isaiah J. Poole. I spoke to Robert Greenstein, the director at the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, about the political dangers lurking at the edge of what is commonly referred to as the fiscal cliff. That is the time at the end of the year when Congress will not only have to grapple with the expiration of the Bush tax cuts, but will also face deep automatic cuts in domestic and defense spending if Congress and the White House can't agree on an alternative plan to grow the economy and lower the federal deficit.
Well, some people might say the number one danger is a complete deadlock, that all of the tax cuts expire, the sequester takes effect, and we go back into a recession. But I wouldn't agree with that, because I think the chances of that occurring are extremely small. There will be some kind of a deal at some point. The bigger danger, in my view, is of a highly unbalanced deal. For example, one that would end up extending all of the tax cuts, including those for the highest income people, extending big breaks in the estate tax for the estates of the wealthiest 1/4% of people who died, while at the same time doing further deep cuts in a variety of important programs, an outcome that could reduce jobs, increase poverty and inequality. So the real question, I think, at the end of the day, something will be worked out. Is it going to be fair and balanced, or is it going to take recent trends towards increases in poverty and inequality and need and make them worse?
So how do we make sure that we don't get that outcome? I mean, given the way the politics are shaking out right now, even a lot of Democrats are sort of weak-kneed on that, to be honest.
Well, I think the key is to end up with what we call a balanced package. There has to be a significant contribution from revenues, from taxes, especially from those who can most afford to pay more in order to pay their fair share. We currently have, in effect, as a result of the Bush tax cuts that average over $100,000 a year for people that make over $1 million a year, yet we're cutting education, laying off teachers and nurses and firefighters, and not meeting basic needs and not creating jobs. So we really have to get the balance right here.
I also asked Greenstein about an analysis the New York Times published July 24th that pointed to a growing consensus that austerity measures in Greece were making the economy worse, not better. Why aren't policymakers in the United States getting the message that the austerity measures advocated by Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney and his fellow conservatives in Congress will do the same damage in the United States?
So I actually don't like analogies to Greece. They mostly come from the right, where people say, oh, if we don't do massive budget cuts, we'll end up being insolvent like Greece. I don't think the model is Greece, even on the austerity side, but it is the rest of Western Europe. A country like Britain, I think, is a more appropriate analogy, where they instituted substantial budget cuts, even as the economy was very weak, and it slowed the economy significantly. I think they're probably in or headed back into a recession. We do need deficit reduction for the midterm and the long term here in the United States, but not for the short term. What we really ought to be doing, in my view, is a package that combines significant, immediate, short-term job creation measures led by further federal support for state and local governments so they don't keep having to lay off so many workers, including teachers among others, and couple that with measures that would kick in after the economy is recovered, that do get us deficit reduction for the midterm and the long term, but do so in a balanced and progressive manner with a significant revenue contribution under which higher income people pay their fair share.
Thank you very much.